Hello, it's Maggie, the Cheshire Crafter here. It's a bit of a dull day today. It's Sunday, and I thought I'd do something a little bit to cheer us up. You'll notice behind me that in my first video, when I welcomed you, I had a Cath Kidston button box. In fact, I had 2 boxes. Well, I have actually donated those 2 boxes now to a charity shop. One of them complete with a button box kit, and the other one was box only, and I thought somebody might like those, but I've changed them to match my purple lounge. And as you see now, I've got a tin, which is a Cadbury's tin, and a purple fabric box above it. I'm going to make some buttons with you today. I'm going to show you what I've previously made as well. So come with me into the kitchen and we'll take a look. I love tins, don't you? And I like to find ones that I use as an aide-memoire. So this was a Christmas tin, obviously with Cadbury's chocolate biscuits in it. And I felt it was appropriate for me to keep in my lounge. So rather than keeping the Cath Kidston boxes, I've now put things in this tin. And let's see what's in it. I kept the contents of the Cath Kidston box. And it was the Button Factory, if you remember. And this gives the detail of how to make the buttons using a template. There's a fabric cutting template at the back. There are suggestions of how to make them, and they're in the original Button Factory box. There was Cath Kidston fabric. I'm not going to use that today. I'm going to use some Laura Ashley, and I'll show you that in a minute, but the project ideas. So within it then came a template. And what I've done is I've cut out, from that template, I've cut out the appropriate sizes of buttons that I might need. You can cut them out in paper, but I found it easier to do in card. And I've marked on the cards how big they are, going down in sizes. And I use those as my templates. I've just marked on them, and they are the same size as these. Now, within that Cath Kidston box came this very simple button making kit. You put your button upside down with your fabric and press on it, but I actually didn't find that very good. Instead, what I recommend is one of these, and you can buy them. They're called self-cover fabric button toolkits from one of 2 companies, either Hemline or Prym. That's Prym. And I find this easier, and I'm going to use this one today. So I keep those in my box, and then I keep a selection of metal buttons and plastic buttons, and it's the plastic buttons I'm going to use today. These are 15mm buttons with their parts to secure it. I bought a pack of 50 off eBay, £7.49. That makes them 15p each per button. And this will make buttons that are this size and this shape. So I make buttons in 2 types then, either plastic buttons, and I'll show you the smallest size then. These are the smallest size that they do. These are incredibly fiddly. So that 11mm button, that 11mm size will create a button like this. I've done some in a jacquard silk, and I think that would be appropriate for wedding or special occasion buttons. My friend's daughter got married and she had beautiful dress with buttons all the way down the back, and somebody's actually covered all of those in fabric like this. But it's a small selection like that. I do make larger buttons. This is the largest size that I make. Anything bigger than that is really too big for me to fiddle with. And I either make them in plastic, or I buy 2 types of metal buttons. That's these. These are recycled aluminium, which I like the idea of. I like the idea of recycling fabric. So I like the idea of recycling the aluminium. I think they come from aluminium cans. And then the other type are the large metal ones. These are, again, are the largest type that I make And once I've made them, I bunch them together. I put them into packs so I know what colours they are, what type they are. These were good fun. These were the Royal Air Force airplanes. Very topical for the red arrows flying over last week. Laura Ashley gingham works very well. Tiny gingham buttons. I'm going to show you some that I made that were harder to do, and that's these little, they're voile, and with voile it's so fiddly. They recommend that it's easier to do it if you keep a piece of interfacing, and it certainly is. It was actually very difficult to get the fabric to stay underneath without fraying, and the tool that I use to help me with that is the trusted what are these called? Thread cutters. Thread cutters. The word will come to me, but I find it helpful to help poke the fabric and get it right underneath and secure underneath this bit without it fraying. The other thing I've done here is I've done two pieces of fabric. One was a satin, and I covered it with net, and I thought that was really appropriate. If you can see that shining, it's dark maroon, and I felt that was really appropriate for a burlesque type button. So they're the types of buttons that I've made, and I'm going to show you what's in my fabric box then. So this is the one that is now on in my lounge, and I put my fabric scraps in there, and you'll see I've got all sorts of bits of cotton. I've got bits of voile. There's that same voile again. I've got little bits of net, little bits of really fine see-through fabric, bits of linen. There's bits that I've reclaimed from clothes that I've cut up that have actually got the interfacing on the back, and I've deliberately left it there because that will be easier to make a button with that ready in place. I've got some linen here. I've got some linen. I've got some thicker haberdashery fabric. I wouldn't recommend that you try the small buttons with this because you really won't be able to get it to bend round. Really, we're looking at these larger buttons for doing anything with this type of fabric or this type of linen. I happen to know that that linen is Laura Ashley, vintage Laura Ashley, because I cut up a dress. So where I can identify it, I will. I have some pieces that I've left out here, some that are easily identified as Liberty fabric, but I don't think I'm going to cut those up for button covers. I think I'm going to keep those and do something slightly different with them. This is a style of blues. They're just variety of cottons. I've kept some interfacing, as you'll see. Keep all your scrap bits of that. It's really helpful. And other bits that are really recognisable. There's Kate. That's Blue Campion, I think, from Laura Ashley. And what I've done is I've taken a selection. I love this one. This is from a dress that I cut up. What I've done today is I've taken a piece from this strawberry, which I thought was, well, we should be in strawberry weather. It's a bit dull today. But what I've done is I've taken a little bit from that and I've ironed it. I've taken some more pink and ironed that. Some blue. And these are just cottons. I do find it helps if you iron them first. It makes them feel a little bit stiffer. I'm not quite sure whose fabric that is, but it is beautiful. And I've got this little piece of silk with a cream dot on. And this has got interface on the back already, so I'm going to use that. So I'm going to come back and show you in a moment how I go about actually making those buttons. So for this 15mm button then, I've opted for this size template, and I've just drawn around it on the reverse, the wrong side of the fabric. It doesn't matter because the pen marks won't show, they'll be going under the button. And as I put that on the top, I think that these might be a little bit too much fabric to get into that button. So I'll have a go. I've been able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as the fabric got narrower, I was struggling a bit. But if I find that I don't need quite as much fabric, I might be able to get 8. I might be able to get 8 buttons out of this fabric. So I'm going to cut that out and see where we go from there. So I initially cut out this size, 1 5/8. But when you look at the button, when I cut out the material, there was too much material to try and turn over and fit in on the inside of the button. So what I've done is I've cut a slightly smaller size and I've marked it for these 15mm buttons, and I've cut out, I got 8 of the blue ones, blue and white, and I've marked out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 from this strawberry pattern. It doesn't matter that there's a biro mark on the back, because it's not going to show. That's going to be on the inside of the button. So what I'm going to do for each button then is put the material in right side down, place the button on top and push it down. Just push it down with your fingers. These little tools help. These, by the way, are called seam rippers. I just couldn't think of the word I wanted. You're then going to put your little machine over the top just to push that down. Just make sure you get as much of the fabric down as you can. And then this little ratchet over the top, there's 2 ways to put this in. There's a rough side, and the rough side goes material side down. So the smooth side is the bit that's preserved with your button. That goes over the top, and this little machine is going to help push that button right down. Now I would struggle to do that with my fingers. And as we push it up, look, you get a real perfect button. Beautifully covered every time. If you find that there's a little bit of material that's coming out, you can just ease it under with this. Cotton works brilliantly for this, which is why I've opted to show you with cotton first of all. I'm going to make a few of these, and then I'm going to show you with the strawberry fabric. Try and get the pattern as far as you can to be central on your button. Push it down. And then I want one of these pieces. Should have separated these, shouldn't I, first? One of these pieces in the middle, and the little maker will do the job. Push it back up, and there you are. Perfect button. And that's easy, even on my fingers. Even I can do that. So I'm just going to carry on doing those with the blues, and then I'm going to cut some more strawberries, and then I'll show you what I'm doing with those.